because I'm on Facebook. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Challenges and Triumph of Online Teaching during this unprecedented time at the Female Educators Roundtable with host Debby Enoe from Teacher Success Coach and my guest Anna. So I would like Anna to welcome Anna. Thank you for taking the opportunity to come on the show. Can you introduce yourself and say what country you come from and say what subjects you teach, etc., please?
Thank you, Debbie, for having me on your platform. As said, my name is Anna Harry. I am from the lovely Spice Isle of Grenada. I am a business teacher at a secondary school. The school I teach at is the Wester Hall Secondary. I teach business subjects at the levels of Form 3 to Form 5. So my students, they are on average 14 to 17-year-olds.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, another educator from my country. Lovely Grenada, nice and sunny. Welcome, Anna. Thank you very much. Right, today we are going to be looking at some of the challenges of teaching teenagers because you are teaching secondary school.
Yes.
And also looking at it in relationship to separation of school and home. Yes, I'm aware that we are actually teaching online. So the question is, how can we separate home life and school life? Can we do it at all, or have we tried to do it? What's the situation on that?
Well, it has been very challenging adapting to the online platform. When I initially had to do the transforming from traditional classroom to the online classroom, to be honest, I was totally frustrated and overwhelmed. There were times when I got up, I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? Because I'm so accustomed to a daily pattern, getting up in the morning, getting my son ready, leaving home at a particular time, going to a destination, and just performing within my schedule timetable. But then all of a sudden, COVID comes and just throws me into a situation where it's no longer the daily routine. I have to now be able to adapt and be flexible. So for me, it was definitely a challenge. There were days when I felt unproductive, and there are days when I felt I'm giving too much to school and not to my family. So sometimes when my son comes and he says, Mommy, movie tonight, I felt like, okay, yeah, movie tonight. And then he would come, Mommy, movie tonight. And I was like, okay, sorry, baby, let's do that next time. So to balance that was really a challenge. How do you still engage your students, but still take care of your family and yourself as the educator?
You know, that's so interesting because that's one of the challenges a lot of educators are now facing. How to balance the home life, so you're separated, and the school life. It's very difficult anyway when you're actually having to go to school. Now, even more so that you're actually staying at home. I found that everything was rolling into one. So could you imagine, you know, trying to get your student to separate it? How did you get them to separate it? Were they able to do any separation at all?
Well, when we originally started, we were being engaged on a platform called Edmodo. Now, when I tried that, I realized I was getting no response from my students. So I had to find a way that I can engage with it because we're not in the classroom where I can interact with, but I needed to feel them and hear them and interact with them. So we decided to use the Zoom platform. But in setting up the Zoom platform, I still had some challenges because they had other classes and other teachers demanding their time. So I said, you know what, I have to be flexible. While I want to cover my content, I have to remember that I'm dealing with people and these people have feelings. And so I need to incorporate that. So I had to be flexible. So I said to them, you know what, how can we schedule classes? Let's work around your schedule. So they came together. And they decided that Wednesday and Friday was the best days for them. So I adjusted to suit. Because while I have my challenges, these students also have their challenges. So I had to be flexible. So we met on Zoom. So with some students, I met on Zoom with them. And with another set, I had to meet on Skype. Now, Skype, the children taught me about Skype as a platform to engage with them. I wasn't even aware that through Skype, I can record my classes. So I use both platforms to engage my students.
That's interesting. Thank you for that, because I've got a question I think was for next week actually, because
Okay.
I discovered that some educators were using more than one platform. And this is so interesting because
Yes.
with your students, you are using one group, you use Zoom, the other
Uh-huh.
group you're using Skype.
Yes.
Okay, and how was it to learn those two platforms? So so initially we are going to look at how we are actually separating school from home. Now, the
Uh-huh.
fact that you're using two platform, how were you negotiating these two platforms? What did you find in relationship to negotiating both of them? What was the issues?
Okay, well, Zoom, because I'm doing my online studies, Zoom was easy to maneuver. So I had some idea based on my studies. But with the Skype, I said to my students, listen, I'm a teacher, yes, but I'm also a learner in this process. So you are going to guide me through the process. So sometimes when I couldn't start, I say, okay, how are we starting this recording now? So even in transforming to using Skype, I was learning together with my students. But the bigger group, I use Zoom with them, and the smaller group, we use Skype. And the Skype came about too because some students were not able to access the Zoom, and I don't want anybody to be left out. So also flexibility again, I had to adapt to what they were using. And interestingly, there was one time I was having a class on Skype, and one student called me, Miss, I can't connect on Skype. So what I could do, I said, no, you're not going to miss my class at all. So while I was on Skype with the others, I was on a voice call with her on WhatsApp. So I'm interchanging between the WhatsApp and the Skype just to make sure that no child gets left behind. So it was a learning process using Skype for me.
Okay, so you use Skype, use WhatsApp, and use Zoom. So you have three platforms you were using in order to make sure that your student get all the
Yes.
information. Oh
Yes,
my
it
goodness.
was.
Another
Yes.
thing is, so in relationship to the attendance, I keep on asking everybody the attendance because I just want to know, how many students do you teach on a normal basis?
My Form 5s are 19 students.
Okay.
Right.
So on Skype, on your platform, how many students did you get engaging on the platform?
Right. When I use the Skype platform, because it's a small number, I got all of them. So that number, 4 students on the Skype. So I got all of them. The Zoom, however, probably 1 or 2 would ever miss, but if they miss, they will let me know in advance, Miss, I cannot attend class. And I would say, okay, because I always say to them, any challenges you have, let me know. So if a student is going to miss my Zoom class, I do 2 things. I record the classroom session and then I send it out in the WhatsApp chat so that they can get it. I would also go back after the classroom and do a voice record over. So I have my PowerPoint slides. I use Screencast-O-Matic. So I look at the slides and I do a voice record over and I send it out as well. So one child will get the one with all the interaction. The child who doesn't want to get all this chatter discussion, get the recording. And then I also send just the PowerPoint presentation so they get to read. So I'm going to cater for all the different students and their specific needs. So it was a lot of work, but
it is a lot of work because I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, really? You do the voice over PowerPoint, you did the PowerPoint alone, and then you do the chat. That's for one lesson.
Yes, for one lesson.
Exactly. So
and
you
I have to
actually
do it twice a day. I have to do it twice on a Wednesday and twice on a Friday because it's different students, their needs would vary. So I have to cater for them.
You see, that's what we are all finding out, right? We're finding out teaching on the online platform is far much more work than we normally do in the classroom.
Definitely.
Yeah. And the other thing about it, online is actually we are actually meeting the students' need because we are differentiating a lot more on online platform because you've actually used 3 different medium right there. You had 4 because you had actually had them on the Zoom, and then you have 3 different methods. So which means that all the needs are being met.
Yes.
Wow, I must say, I take my hat off to you because I'm not too sure I'll be able to do. It's like when you finish, you have to do the voiceover on PowerPoint, and then you say, really? Oh,
yes, really.
My goodness. And so at least in terms of your 19 students, you've got about 80% attendance.
Yes, I did get 80% attendance, but that in itself also had its challenges because even when they come to class, I have to also deal with the fact that some of them come and say, Miss, I'm tired. Or because everybody's situation is different, there will be students who have to take care of their siblings, mainly because parents are out at work and daycares are not open. So they too now have to take care of a sibling while at home. So I also had to try to maneuver with that. So even using the platforms, I had to become creative in gaining and keeping their attention.
Okay, so how did you do that? How did you divide your lesson? In terms of, how long for a start, how long are your lessons?
because Zoom allows
Normally.
us because Zoom allows us a 40-minute session, what I
Okay.
do is when the session ends at 40 minutes, I get them to come back in. Skype doesn't have a time limit, so Skype is okay. But with Zoom, I get them to come back in. So to keep them engaged, but I first of all, I don't force them to keep their cameras on because remember, everybody's housing arrangement is different. I don't, it's teenagers, you don't want to embarrass them, right? So,
Okay.
but what they have to do is mute your mic. They have to keep their mics muted if they're not saying anything. And I have disabled the chat so that they can't be cross talking while class is going on.
All
But
right.
to keep them engaged, I do a number of things. So sometimes we're having a discussion. So say, for example, we're having a discussion on the role of government. One of the things that I did was I said that, okay, we're discussing the role of government. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to call on John. So suppose the child name is John. John would start the discussion and then he's going to call somebody else to continue. So in that
Oh,
way, I'm getting everybody to participate. If
yeah.
it is a case where I just want to give them the information and I find that, okay, I'm not hearing a particular child. So I would say, Sarah, you're with me, right? You understand what I'm saying? So I call them one by one just to make
Mhm.
sure. The other time, just to make sure that they're there, I use this thing called Mentimeter. It's a fun quiz, but it's competitive, and these students like the competition. So I get them to sign in on the Mentimeter. I
Okay.
pose a question, and I say, okay, two persons missing to sign up. Where the other two? Where are my two? And I call their names, and they sign in on the Mentimeter. I pose a question. I say, okay, first person to respond, and all the excitement. So I have to do because I'm not seeing them. I'm not in the classroom where if they misbehave, I can touch
Yeah.
them or stand next to them. So I have to make sure they are there. So I call their names. So I give them this arrangement and I say, okay, I'm not seeing this person, you're not entering, and please, no nicknames. So they can't use nicknames, they have to use their proper
The real
name.
name.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So when you actually get them to do these games, what is the reward for actually, how many questions on the paper?
Well, if I use Mentimeter because I use the free version, I get like 5 questions, but it's just at the end of the lesson to just gain their understanding, or probably during the lesson to see if they understand what I'm saying. But
Okay.
outside of that, I use another platform called Quiz, where they get a number of questions. It could be from 20, so any number. But with that, what they
Mhm.
like about that is when they get a question wrong, when they get a question wrong, there's a meme that says, oh, I'm disappointed, or something like that. Or if they get it right, then they get one that would cheer them on. And they so like it. They'll be like, Miss, you give us another quiz again. I was like, okay, you know what? Give me some time. Let me formulate. So sometimes I just go there and formulate questions just to get them.
Okay.
So they want it. I have to give it to them just to make sure that they stay engaged and they stay on top of their lesson.
Okay, okay. So the quiz, you have to set the question, even though the quiz is there. It's just a template. I don't know about this platform. I have not.
Okay, well, you have the option. You can set a new quiz and you set up questions yourself, or
Uh-huh.
there are those that they come with questions already, but you can adjust the questions to suit the content that you cover. So you have both options to start a new one or
Okay.
to just add or take away from one that's already existing. So when you go onto the
Okay.
platform, let's suppose you do flies as a topic. You can type in the
Yeah.
topic. You might get a quiz already there with questions. And if it's not what you
Okay.
covered, you
Okay.
have the option of removing it. So I have learned to use that. And I was introduced to that by my son's teacher. So educators
All
helping
right.
educators.
Okay. 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 That's the beautiful thing. And we have to share
Yes, we
practices. We have to
do.
share good practice because,
Yes, we do. We do.
as we all know, this is such a new platform for us. And it's trying to negotiate around this platform. So
Yes,
therefore, the beautiful thing is, educators, we all have to be willing to share with each other because we don't know what we're doing. We all
exactly.
have to be
Exactly.
learning as we go along.
Yes, we
So
do.
that's
We
another
do.
factor as well.
Yes.
Another, thanks for that. Another thing is, what do you do? You said earlier when you had some student come in and say to you, oh, I'm tired. Have you ever had
Yeah.
any of them that falling asleep?
No, I've never had the challenge of falling asleep because, as I said, I always call on them. So I call on them
Okay.
and I say, okay, so I'm not here. But even when I call them, I have my list up. So in the Zoom platform, I look at my participants and I keep a register.
Okay,
So
okay,
when I
okay.
call on them, I know who's there. So I've never had them falling asleep in class yet. I
Yeah,
hope
but
that
you
doesn't happen because I try to keep them involved in the conversation as much as possible.
okay, but you say you have some of them that say like when they come, they say, Miss, I'm tired. So what you do when they come and say to you they're tired?
I say, okay, so let's stay focused. If they're tired, I limit the amount of time or engagement that we have. So if I plan to cover 3 objectives, and they say, Miss, okay, we read because they probably have a class, we found so much of homework, I cut it short. Because while I want to cover content, as I said, I have to remember that these children are also coping with a new situation. So, or if they say, Miss, we really tired, I say, okay, so when can we reschedule for? So I try as much as possible to work with them.
Okay, okay. So which means if they say to you that they're tired, you say, okay, you reschedule the sessions.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see, that's another aspect of flexibility when we're teaching
Yes.
online. Because
Yes.
if a student say they're tired, in the classroom, when they say that, what do you mean you're tired? Just focus.
Yes. Yes.
But if they say to you on the online platform that they're tired, you say, okay, when could we reschedule the lesson?
If it's one child, then I say, no, you need to stay with me. And then I would, stay with me. But if it's a case where all of them, because I know that other teachers are giving them information. And because we're not in the classroom setting right now, okay, they have maths at this time and then I'm next. I have to understand now what are they having before me. And sometimes they come and they say, Miss Olosh, we had a lot of homework. And I don't want to add to their frustration, add to their burden. So I have to also learn to work with them. So the key thing here, and so it ends up being a win-win situation, because if I don't get you Wednesday, 10 o'clock, I'm going to get you Wednesday at some time. So it's a win-win. So we don't ever cancel the class. We just reschedule for a time when they are able and they could soak in the information.
Okay, okay. So thank you. So how many classes do you see them twice a week, right?
Yes,
On Wednesday
I see
and
my
Friday.
Form 5. Wednesdays and Fridays, I see my Form 5s. That's when we want the online platform. So yes, I see them Wednesdays and Fridays.
Okay, so what time your lesson starts on a Wednesday, on a Friday as well?
Friday. So one of the sessions, let's start on the online platform. When we have that, one session go from 10 to 11, and then the other session starts at 12 to 1. So I do one set of Form 5s, and then I do the other set. The Form 3s and 4s, while I engage them, is more in the Moodle platform, but that is not giving results. But the Form 5, because they're preparing for the external exams, these are the ones that I try to make sure that I get my time with.
Okay, okay, okay. So have you had all the children, they all had the resources to turn up for classes in terms of the computer, the phone? What was that in relationship to they all being able to access?
But there are challenges with the devices. So some students would have to use their phones, some using their tablets. There's some students who didn't even have internet connection, so they had to go by a neighbor or a friend just to get the connection. So it has been a challenge. So that is why I had to make sure that I'm flexible to get them. So if they have to move from point A to point B, I had to wait until I say, Miss, I'm going to reach late for class. And I'll be like, okay, sure, no problem. So at least I know what's happening. So that's what I encourage with them. Let me know what's happening so that I can cater for you. So that's all I ask of them. Let me know what is happening. But the device has been a challenge.
Okay, so thank you. So when a student says, Miss, I'm going to have to sign in late, what do you do if you have the full class, the rest of the class waiting, What do you do if this one student signing in late?
Right, so I don't keep the rest of the class waiting. I begin the lesson, but then the child who is late would not miss out, because remember, I'm going to also send the recording.
Okay.
So even if you miss a section, you get the recording. And then I sometimes personally call that child. I say, did you understand? Did you get anything? And I always say, anything at all, WhatsApp me. You have my number, WhatsApp me. Let me explain it to you. So the recording would cater for the child who missed because they came in late.
Okay, okay. Thank you. You see, another thing I'm thinking about, right, because you have teenager, the subject you teach is business.
Yes.
So how do you engage them? Are they all receptive to this session in terms of business studies? You know, the days you're teaching them, are they all, you know, ready to engage?
They like the discussion because I want to engage them in discussion, and these children are so opinionated. They always have an idea to share. So the discussions are very engaging. So I get them to partake because of the discussion. So I try to make it very student-centered and not me just come in and talk. When I was doing with them how to calculate the balance of trade and balance of payment, it's not just me saying. So after I taught the concept, I used the whiteboard setting in Zoom, and I said, okay, now it's your turn. Show me what you can do. So one child said, Miss, I can't write on the platform. I said, okay, no problem. Then explain to me what you're doing. Yeah, not getting away because you can't write on it. So explain to me the process. So I try to just really keep them engaged and involved.
Okay. So your method of engaging them is getting them to, you know, to write on the whiteboard on the platform.
Yes. Or they can even take out a picture. If they do the work, take out a picture and send me via WhatsApp. And so I get to see what they're doing. I want to make sure that they understand, because I'm not there with them physically when we're using the honor, but I want to make sure that they understand. And if they skip a point or they skip something, I say, okay, what happened here? So I don't tell them, oh, that is wrong. They have to tell me, what did you do? How come you arrived at that? And when they get the chance to explain about, oh, that's stupid mistake, I make mistake, no catch. So once they can explain and see where they went wrong, it's a good thing too.
Okay. Thank you. Another thing I want to ask is, because you keep on popping into my head, do you get them to write in the exercise book on paper? How you get them to, how you know that they're engaging with the material? What are you doing to ensure that they've got the material in front of them? Is it handout? What is it?
Right. So they have to write. So I said to them, so initially I said to them, when I ask you to write this, you're going to do as normal. You're going to write the subject, you're going to write the date, you're going to write the topic, because it's also a way for us to track. So I say, remember we did this on the 30th of, so they can go back to the date and they can see. So yes, they have to write the information and send me a picture. If I give them something to do on let's suppose a quiz on Google Forms, I use that as well. I make sure it's dated and timed. So when they submit, I get to see what time they submitted and the day that they attempted. So everything is dated for my records and also for their records, so I can get them to refer back to it.
Okay. So you get them to write, you know, let's say write the notes in the exercise in the notepad, so therefore, you know, they have a record of it. So they just don't. So when they come onto the platform, how do you check that they have the notepad with them? What, you know?
How do I check that they have their notepads on the Zoom platform? So I say, okay, so we're ready to write. And they will say, okay, miss. But I tell them before, you need to have some writing instruments. So they come prepared for that. And I will say, okay, so we're ready to write? And I say, okay, I want you to write this. And I will say, so they have to let me know when they are finished writing. And it also has to be a level of trust. I have to ensure that, okay, they say, yes, miss, I'm writing. And the fact that I have to pause for a while, it means that they are writing, because I don't think they will make me just stop and not do anything. So I trust that when I say that, I say, okay, miss, you could turn, you could go to the next slide now. So that's just my way of keeping informed that they are really writing. And then again, if it's an activity they have to do, they need to snap the picture and send to me that they actually did the work.
Okay. So you actually check in terms of the assessment by they're actually taking a picture of the work and sending it to you. Okay. So when do you ask them to send it to you? Straight away, you know, soon after the lesson, or are they able to delay to send it?
It depends on what they're doing. So I give them a window of a day or two, because it depends on how much I want them to do. So when I did the demand and supply with them, they had to draw a graph and answer a question. So they had to send it to me the next day. So not the same day of class, because they have other things to do. So the next day they had to send it for me. If I check and I don't see, I put in chat, okay, I received from this person. So where are you? Where is XYZ? I would reach out to the child personally. How come I see anything from you? So I also do that to make sure that they are doing what they have to. Because one thing to say, yes, I understand, but actually see that you understand is something completely different.
Okay. Because the interesting thing about it is, because you know, some of them could be in the classroom and don't do any writing at all, right? Because that's what crossed my mind just now. They do no writing. You post the homework. They said yes, because they have a day to do it. They will actually quickly get the note from someone else. We know students.
Yes.
You know, and then they upload it for you. Yes, miss, I was listening. You know, so it's challenging because
Yes.
students saying to, an educator say, I think it was last week, when she asked the student to submit the work, she keep on getting blank paper. So the student submit the work. So the teacher said that she thought it was her fault that probably the information all got lost. She said when she gone a few times, she called the student up and she said, I know what you're doing, because the student either didn't have time or couldn't be bothered. So instead of uploading the essay, all they upload is a blank sheet of paper.
Okay.
It's like typical student. That's the
Yes.
reason why I ask you the question I ask you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know, how soon you ask them to submit the work?
I ask them first, and I always check up if somebody submit. And then because I've taught them, because the Form 5s, I have them from since in Form 3. So over the years, I know the student, I know their handwriting. So even if they say, okay, let me get my bigger brother, sister, somebody to do it for me, then fine. But then you need to know. And so when we meet as a group again, we go through the question and I ask them to explain. So even if you show somebody before you, remember, you have to explain. So I just want to make sure they understand. So yes, I'm aware of their tricks. I said to them, I went to school too. So
exactly. Sometimes we have to remind them that we know what's happening, because they think that we're just big. Then they realize that we've gone through the whole thing, So what are some of the other challenges that you've had, trying to get these teenagers, because we need to remember these are teenagers. I've got teenagers myself. It is an uphill struggle.
Yes. I have days. I remember there was one day that I was all set up to teach my lesson. And when I went, the friend said, Miss, we need to talk. I was like, what? So I give them a time to talk. I give them the time to talk because we're not there. They have their different challenges. So I give them the time to talk. And they talk about everything and anything. And as much as I can, I try to relate my life story to them, to let them see that, okay, yes, I might be the teacher adult, but I understand. I have some understanding of what you're going through. Our circumstances may be different because of the era that I grew up in and the era you're growing up, but we are still human beings, and there's certain things that they're experiencing that I probably went through that I can be able to share with them. There was even one time when after 11 at night, my phone is ringing. I'm thinking like, who's calling me at this hour? When I look at it, a group of my students called just to talk. I'm not going to tell them no. So they just called and we talked about all the frustrations that they too were having, coping with the online platform and just all the pile of work they think were coming up on them. So I try to maintain an open policy with them that you can call me, let's talk about what's happening.
Really, you 11 o'clock in the night, a student calling you because he or she wants to talk. Really?
Yes.
You see, that's the thing about it.
Yeah. Because sometimes we have to understand that children need to hear different perspectives sometimes, and it could be that they don't have another avenue or somebody else to speak with. So you have to, as a teacher, understand that if a child calls you to speak to you, it must be that you have shown something. So they see something in you. That's why they're reaching out to you. And I don't know what the problem was. I can't shy them up because I have a child as well. I don't my child want to reach out to his teacher. So let me just extend the same courtesy. So I see every child as my child.
I see that, but there's sometimes I feel that, you remember when I say separating school from home?
Yes.
That's a classic example, because you have the student have not separated school from home, and you haven't separated school from home. 11 o'clock in the night, that's my home time.
Yes. But because it wasn't schoolwork, it was to talk about something troubling them. I was like, okay. But when it comes to my schedule and spending time for my son, I have something for that. I made sure that I set myself a schedule and I have some boundaries when it comes to that. But the call was a one-off thing that they did, but we try to talk within that time. But one of the things that we have to do is make sure that we set a schedule for ourselves as educators and boundaries. So even in setting my schedule, I have it alarming all over the place. So I have my phone alarm to tell me I need to do this at this time. I have the alarm on my computer, and I still have a to-do list. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping on track of the things that I have to do. On a normal school day, my work time is 8:30 to 2:30. Now that I've adjusted to the online platform, I maintain the 8:30 to 3 o'clock now. And I say between this time and this time, I am doing this. And when that time is over, I need to spend some time with my son because I can't neglect him over wanting to do everything works. So one of the things that we have to do is know that we have to set a schedule and have boundaries.
Thank you. I think that's interesting. The fact that, the schedule whereby, at whatever time you have your clock alarm to tell you, hello, it's time to stop this now, so at least you have clear boundaries, in terms of this is school time. So therefore, from 8 to 2:30 school time, or 8 to 3 as you schedule. After that is home time. So you separated. So how do you think that the student actually is able to separate it? Are they able to have the clear boundaries, or you find that sometimes that it's actually going, coming on in terms of, 2:30, but you still have a student calling you at 5 to 3?
Well, in terms of that, I would say to them, if I send a message in the WhatsApp, so if I don't have class with them on that scheduled day and I send a message to them in the WhatsApp chat, I say, if you're having an issue with something, let me know between this time and that time. So I said to them, okay, you have this time to that time to let me know. If I can't address it now, I'll do it the next day. So I let them know. And I said to my students, I am studying. These are my class times. So you can get me between this time and that time. After that, I'll deal with it the next day. So as much as I try to be there for them, they also have to understand that Miss also has her studies to do, as well as she has her family to attend to. So I let them know that this is the time that I'm going to allot to you. If not, let's do this the next day.
Okay. So which means that's interesting. Thank you, because it means that you've actually set clear boundaries for your students. So they're very much aware of, school time, home time. And is it working though?
It's working. I think it's working. It's working for me. It's working. So I even try not to send them messages outside of the school time. Okay. So if I say we're stopping at 3 o'clock and I forgot I had to tell them something, I have to remind myself, okay, if I don't want them to be sending messages in the chat after a time, I also need to follow my own example, my own rules. So if I forget to send something, I wait until the next day, and very early the next day, at 8 o'clock the next day, I say, listen, guys, I forgot to tell you, but this is what is going to happen. So I try to also follow the rules that I set.
Yeah, that's thank you. That's fantastic, because I think by you following the rule that you set, it is unlikely for them. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but it is unlikely for them to actually, cross the boundaries, because you actually clearly demonstrate this is home time and this is school time. Yeah. So therefore, I am not posting in home time, and I don't expect you to post in home time. Okay.
It took some adjusting, but eventually we're fitting. So now we understand. So I'm not at work. So now we have gone back to the physical classroom off and on, and I'm not at work today. So they know, okay, Miss is not there, so I should not bother Miss.
Okay. So you guys gone back to the physical classroom?
Just the Form 5s are in the class because they have exams starting on the 13th of July. So to make sure that they are prepared, they have limited class schedule with us.
Okay, so how is that? Because you say you've gone back. So how many students have gone back? 19 students?
No, the entire Form 5 students is around 55 students, I think we have at the Form 5 level preparing for exams. But they come on a staggered basis. So the students come only when they have a class, and when they're finished with their class, they are free to leave. So we have this staggered approach, and the classrooms are set up to do to adhere to social distancing. So we have that. So even when I'm engaging them in the classroom, I still come and I give them something online to do, just to make sure that they're keeping engaged.
Okay, so how many students you have in the classroom, the fact that they've gone back? How many in your classroom? How many are you allowed to have in your classroom?
So my Form 5s are separated into two classes. So I have one class that is a 15 on 15, and then I have another class that is 5. So they're small. So my numbers are small. So I don't get my 2 Form 5s are not together at any point in time. So I have one class and then I have the other class. So we just to make sure we have the distancing protocol established.
Yeah, but you have one class that is 5
Mm-hmm.
and you have one class that is 15.
Yes.
They're not connected at all, because the class that is 5 is fine, the distance, because it's a bleed classroom, that's fine. But the 15, how are you coping with the 15 in the classroom?
How our classroom, the size in our classroom size are big enough that we could establish a 6 feet distancing. And so we also have, because we have barriers, we can open up the screen. So in some cases, it needs to be the screens are open up just to ensure that we have the distancing. So we always make sure that the distancing is established throughout our lessons.
Okay. So do you all wear masks?
Yes, we have to wear masks. We have to wear masks while we're on the compound, while we're in the classroom engaging the students. And there's also, we have people on the compound that at every station you are sanitized. So before I go to the classroom, my hands are sanitized. After I leave the classroom, my hands are sanitized as well. So much so that sometimes I will go up and I will pass the lady, she will say, "Miss, being sanitized." I'm like, "Oh, sorry." And I go back to get my hands sanitized.
Okay. That's interesting, because the fact that you guys have gone back into the classroom, right? But you say the fact that there's screen in the classroom, so therefore it's okay to open more the full classroom.
Okay, yes. Mm-hmm.
So the 15 in the class, there isn't a problem with that.
No, there's not a problem with that. And so how the timetable is scheduled now, class size are as small as possible, just to ensure that we don't have all of the Form 5s together. So every classroom has a specific time to do their timetable.
Okay. So every the 15 in your class come in at a separate time.
At a separate time to the others, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but you all are having, I'm just trying to visualize this gloves, this mask situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are wearing masks. The students are also wearing masks.
Yes.
How are you talking to the students with this mask on your face? What does it feel like?
Well, in my situation, because I've already covered my content and all we are doing now is practice, I send everything to them via WhatsApp. Okay. Right? So, and then when I go, so it's through Google Forms that they're going to do it. When I analyze the information, I see what they have gotten right and gotten wrong. Then I do a follow-up with them on that. So I will send extra information. I say, okay, I noticed that everybody got question 2 wrong, which was on demand and supply. So here's some additional information for you to go through. Any questions, you ask me the questions. So as for how the other teachers, I'm not sure of their practice in their classroom, but for me, that's how I operate, because I've finished covering content. It's just practice we're doing, and then I do the follow-up when I see how they perform.
Okay. So when you say how they perform, you do a follow-up. Are they handing you something for you to actually observe their performance, or you listening to the conversation?
They're doing it through Google Forms. So Google Forms with a multiple choice. So, and I have it set in such a way that the form analyzes for me the questions that were wrong, who got the most, which question was not done well by students. So that's what I use to inform how I go forward with them.
Okay. That's interesting, because it means that it actually make you, identify individual students. So are you going to give them individual support if you realize that they didn't understand specific areas? Is it individually you're going back to them?
So what I have told them is, when I look at the results, I said to them, okay, so you are having this particular problem. So there's one, I know I've set up some meetings with them when school is closing tomorrow. Tomorrow's our last working day. But I said to them, listen, I know that exam is not to the 13th. You will have some challenges. So we're going to set up some sessions. So you can do it individually. So if you want individual attention, you need to let me know in advance so I can schedule you. But if it's a case where all of you having the same issue, then I see you as a group. So I'm giving them the option of individual as well as group, because they still have lessons with other teachers, but I don't want to pressure them with additional lessons. So I'm opening that, okay, we're going to schedule a class, but you need to let me know in advance so that I can factor you in. You cannot tell me, Miss, I want to see a class in the next 5 minutes. No, you tell me in advance and let me see how I can work you in, because I also have my family, my son, my studies.
Okay, okay, okay. So, it's if they want one-to-one session, you
Yes.
ask them so they could actually tell you, and then you actually do the one-to-one session. So the students, 15 of them coming in, how are they socializing with each other? What I'm just trying to understand, because, they have been away from each other for,
Yes.
God knows how long. Now you guys have brought them into the physical classroom, because that's what we've done for some of the students as well. Bring them into the physical classroom. How, what the interaction is like. How are they interacting with each other, or are they not interacting with each other? What's the story on this?
It's a challenge for them, because sometimes, because the students that I have, they like to hug. They like the hug, they like
Exactly.
the attention. So sometimes they come into it and it's like, oh shucks, miss, with all this the social distancing. So it's a challenge for them to keep away, but they are trying. And then again, because we have all these different people on the compound helping to maintain the social distancing protocol, they know that, and we have the markings on the school compound, so they know to stand there and do what they have. So it is a challenge, and day by day we have to keep reminding them, but we're trying to do what we have to do with what it in the situation that we have.
Yes, thank you. But
It's a
when they first
challenge.
met, right, you were present on the first day of school,
Yes.
right? Did they come in? So when they come in, you actually welcoming them into the classroom, right?
Yeah, so we had an assembly to welcome them and prayer session and everything. Yeah, so we had this big open assembly just to make sure that we give them the spiritual aspect, because they're just coming back from this long time home. Don't just jump into the classroom. So we had a counseling session with them, prayer session, just to get them back into it. The first day it was difficult, even for me as an adult, just seeing my coworkers after such a long time. It's kind of like, okay, we're so accustomed with the shaking hand and the hugging. If you remember, oh, social distancing. So you give the kind of sad, so virtual hug. So we had to try something like that. But it was definitely, it's a challenge, and it still is a challenge up to this day, trying to maintain, because how do you tell good friends you can't sit together close and eat as you used to before? You have to maintain this 6 foot distancing. So they're trying, That's sometimes when I go to say, miss, okay, you're too close. Even the students are saying, okay, miss, 6 feet. So
Okay, okay, okay. Another thing is, what is actually challenging my head is, so when
mhm.
they came in on the first day, so what did you guys do on the first day when they got there? Because I'm looking at it as the first day the students go in, their mental faculties crumble. So
Yeah.
what did you guys do on the first day they came back to school?
So the first day, as I said, so what we did, we had an assembly. So a pastor came in, they had prayer and devotion session. Then
Uh-huh.
they had that took place for a little bit, and then they had a counseling session where they were able to speak as to what they is happening with them. So they had the general one, and those who wanted to meet with a counselor one-on-one scheduled an appointment with her, and she catered to see them. And so that was how we did on the first day. And then they got their timetables, and they were aware of the fact that you come when you have a class and you're free to leave after. So they
Okay,
know that they
okay.
don't have to stick around. And then we also have the lunchtime staggered. So at no point in time would there be a massive amount of students eating. So each class is staggered to give them time to eat their lunch and so forth.
Okay, okay,
Mhm.
thank you. So what was your role? Did you see that wasn't your role on the first day like a counselor? I'm just trying because you've already done it, right? So I
Yes.
just need to
So
so
yes,
what was
on the first day, I was just there to support. So I see them say, how are you doing? Everything is okay
Mhm,
with you? How are you coping? Because you want to make them feel that, okay, it's easy, it's okay to
mhm,
talk, it's okay to be struggling to cope with a particular issue. So every time I see, even now when I see them, so how are you? How's the exam preparation going? Because you don't want to think, okay,
mhm.
so we back, so everything is normal, because it still isn't normal. It's still not
Yeah,
normal. So you still
exactly.
have to keep up with them. So how are you doing? And sometimes I said before, I haven't done it recently, but sometimes in my group chat with my Form 5s, I send out them one of those emojis for them, just to give them something to smile about, because you have to
Yeah.
be there too as a support for these children. Because as adults, we're trying to cope so much. There's these young people
Mm-hmm,
who
mm-hmm,
have to
mm-hmm.
also cope themselves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's interesting. So, in terms of, have you had any of the parents actually reach out to you in relationship to the child is going back to school, they have anxiety about the child going back? Has any parents been anxious the child is going back to school in terms of how would this social distancing work? Have you had any of that?
I haven't had my Form 5 parents reach out to me because they have, every class has a form teacher. So I guess most of the interaction would be with the form teacher. But I have had parents who, students are in my form, who have my contact number, that would probably message me just to get some kind of update as to, Miss, what is happening, and the child is feeling this or feeling that, you know. But I have not had interaction with my Form 5 parents, because they are interacting with their form teacher. Who I interact with are my students in Form 5 directly.
Okay, okay,
Mhm.
okay. But you also, you are a form teacher for another group.
Yes, for a Form 2.
Okay, well, Form 2 is not in school yet. They
Yeah,
still
no, they're
also
not in
you.
school, they're still home, yeah.
So how do you feel? How did you feel having to go back? And how do you feel having been back?
When I had to go back, it was a struggle. It was a struggle. While I wanted to go back to interact with my colleagues and to see my students, it was still a struggle in terms of how am I going to adjust? Because we had to make massive adjustment in school. Our staff room has been diverse. So people are no longer in the staff room as they used to be. Everybody's occupying a different space. So it's like this separation. So this close-knit family that we had, separating. You have to just see your coworker and say, hi, how you doing? And keep moving on. So I had mixed feelings about going back. How am I going to cope? And then the fear, because you're not really sure how this COVID situation is going to turn. So I had mixed feelings about going back. Now that I'm back, it's it's also adjusting to fit into what my new schedule is like, because it's like, okay, so I don't have a full day's work because I'm only interacting with my Form 5s. So it's also a challenge in having to cope with, and then now having to move away from the online, where we did everything online, to now interacting with you and still knowing that I have to keep my distance. So it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. There are days when I still feel a bit overwhelmed, but I'm coping. I really am coping. And the fact that you have your coworkers that you can talk to about what is bothering you, it's really nice. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. But the fact is, you have those. So, how are you connecting with the student? The fact is, you've got mask. You have to stay this distance. So, how is that working? Staying the distance. The mask is, for me, the mask is an issue because I can't really speak with mask on my
Yeah.
face. So, every student have the mask on, right? So they only
Yes,
take
every
out this
student
mask to go and eat.
to go and eat. We have one child though who she's asthmatic. So one of the arrangements we have for her is that she sits close to the entrance, away from everybody though, close to the entrance. So, and she doesn't have to be confined to wearing her mask because of her. She has asthma. She had a reaction. So we have that allowance for. But we also tell the children, if you're not feeling well, then you don't need to come on the compound. But at least the teachers know, and we try to get the work to the students. But up to yesterday, one of my students, she had her first exam, and she was like, Miss, I'm afraid of her. And I think, like, okay, what can I do? Because I can't give her the hug to comfort her. So I have to say, you know what, keep calm, do what you have to do. There was one time too that I finished a class, I'm coming down, and I got a message on my phone. One child message say, thank you, Miss. And I was like, okay, this is nice. So you just finished a class, you get a message from a child saying, thank you, Miss. So
Okay,
we're
okay.
finding ways to make it happen. It's not what we're accustomed to, because children
Mhm.
like to be close to their teacher, but we're finding a way to adjust.
You see, thank you. One thing that crossed my mind is the fact that this child have asthma. This child is on the at risk or vulnerable child, and that child is in school with everybody else. That's to me is an issue.
But as I said, it only happened on that. I was not at work at that day when it happened, but so now because of that, we understand. So, but what the ministry did do is that parents are aware that this is what's going to happen. So if your child is one of those, and you can keep the child, but at least the school has to be informed. So in a case like that, because the teacher knows, as a teacher, you make sure that the child still gets the work. So we have systems in place to cater for the children who, if they have some reaction that we have something in place to take care of them. So we have allowance for her. And then when we have a teacher who's always, if ever the child comes to school, they're checking up to make sure that she's okay. But we understand the situation, so we're working so we're flexible in terms of that.
Okay, thank you. But you see, what still concerns me is this child is asthmatic and this child is in school. You see, that's something a lot of schools are concerned about. The fact that this child is on the vulnerable group because this child is asthmatic and this child is in school, not able to wear a mask. The issues. So the parents feel okay to send the child to school? Or was it a compulsory situation? I just find it strange.
No, coming to school. No, as I said, the parents were aware and they addressed that they know that if you don't feel comfortable sending your child to school because of the conditions, you need to let the school know, work out something with the principal. So that was already established in the beginning. So parents don't feel they're forced to send their child to school who has these underlying conditions. So you have to make arrangements with the school. So at least the school know, okay, this is what's happening with the child. And then at our school, we are kept abreast of what is happening with each child so we can make the necessary accommodation to suit the child, because we're trying to know that, okay, exam is around the corner. No child is going to get left behind. We already lost some time because of the COVID situation. So we're working with every child as best as we can to in whatever capacity we can. So it's not so it wasn't a mandated thing. The parent working with the school through the ministry so that we have something in place to make sure that every child is not, so that no child, is left behind. Every child is catered for.
Okay. So therefore, the fact that the parents is aware, they choose to send the child to school.
Yes. So
okay, thank you. Okay. Another thing is, you said the students are now doing exams. When was the exam initially? Is the exam normally on the 13th of this month, or was it?
No, exam. Really, the exam was supposed to be coming to an end around this time, because if we were back to normal, our graduation should have taken place on Tuesday, the 30th, the last Tuesday in the month, and the Saturday would be board. But because of the situation and making sure that different countries in the Caribbean are ready for the exam had to be pushed back. But normally exam completed by early June, but it has pushed back. So now we're starting later. So they're starting on the 13th of July and they are now finishing on the 4th of August. So there has been a delay in the exam start and finish.
Okay, so you guys are having extra time in school?
Yes, so teachers who want to have extra classes with the students to make up, they have that time. So right now at our school, we are working on a timetable for the teachers who show interest in wanting to have extra classes. So it's going to be scheduled so that, as we say, we don't have everybody on the compound at the same time. So as a teacher, if you want to have that extra time with your students, you make the request, you are factored in to make sure that we don't have too much at any point in time on the compound.
Okay. Thank you. So normally, when would school be finished? Let's say if there was nothing, normally when you would when school finished?
But nothing, school is closed. School is officially ending on Friday. But a lot of the activities we have coming to the end of school has been postponed. So things like registration of new students, a date for that has not been scheduled because we don't know what the situation is. We have not gotten the results, or we have not gotten the placement of the CPE exam. So a lot of things have been pushed back while we await what is happening and word from the ministry in relation to what the COVID-19 Ministry of Health says. But officially, school is to end on the 3rd, which is a normal time for schools. And but the Form 5s, however, would have extra time because of the pushback in the exams from CX.
Okay. So you guys are having roughly two extra weeks in school to accommodate for the exams this year. Okay. So is that happening throughout the Caribbean, or is it just in Grenada?
I can speak for our area that, but then the extra classes is on the teacher and their request, because every teacher is at a different stage in their coverage, so they would know if they need extra time or if they don't need extra time. But it's something that as at our school we have thought about to give the children the extra push, the extra help that they need.
Okay, thank you. So in terms of the exam, when does the exam finishes?
The exam is the official end of the exam is August the 4th. Based on the timetable that I saw, the official end should be August the 4th. Sorry, the end
Okay,
of
so
it.
is that scheduled for the whole of Grenada? Exam finish on August the 4th?
Yeah,
Or
so
is it
that
just,
CSEC is a Caribbean examination. So Barbados sets the date of the exams and they pass it on to the Caribbean islands. So every child has a particular date to sit their specific exam. So that is handed down to us from the examining body. So they had to push back based on the readiness of other islands. And so to cater for that, we have some exams are going to be done online. So we have some exams being done online, and then the others that cannot be put into the online setting, they're going to do it in the on paper base. But then too, there has been arrangement to ensure that even for the paper-based exam and the online exams that you have the spacing. So people have been coming in to assess the situation to make sure that whatever is done, that we maintain the social distancing protocol and that we have sufficient people on the compound to ensure that all students are sanitized and things are kept in place.
okay,
Mhm.
okay. Right, so the exam throughout the Caribbean is finishing on the 4th of August,
The
throughout the
4th of
Caribbean.
August, yes.
Okay, okay, okay. And this is because you guys are now working extra 2 weeks, isn't it? Because this is not what the students are now used to.
No, they're not used to that because by now they're thinking about by now graduation, ball. So exams are over. Now you have a situation where okay, instead of exams being over, I am now preparing for exams. So instead of adopting the holiday mentality, you know, have to adopt the okay, I have exam mentality, which I also think is a challenge for them because now I should be finishing.
Yeah,
I am just about to start.
exactly. So how are the students? Have you spoken to the student in terms of how are they feeling having, I would resent it. How they
But I
feeling
spoke,
having to,
yeah, I have spoken. I always try to speak to my students. I ask, how are you coping? And they were like, Miss, we must do exams. So they have mixed emotions. Some wish that they could get over and done with already. And some just
uh,
they have mixed feelings. Some of them, they're scared. They're thinking like, Miss, what if I go in the exam and I forget everything and I don't know? And I say to them, you need to relax. So the students are also having their struggles in the fact that I should be finished, but no, I am just starting. And now that
yeah.
they have to and the exam structure has changed. So before, where they would do a long paper and a multiple choice, now everything for them is multiple choice. So the subject that I teach, POB, they're doing a multiple choice paper, and that along with the SBA is what is going to guide their grade. So the child
Okay.
who is not able to do multiple choice, you
Mhm,
have to do the
mhm.
extra work with them. That is why when I went back to work, I worked a lot on multiple choice and how to answer multiple choice because they're not giving
Mhm.
us a option now to write your answer where you can get your thoughts flowing. It's either you're right or you're wrong in a multiple choice. So that's one of the things I've been
Exactly.
working on with them, how to answer multiple choice. And it's amazing that the children interpreting the questions is a problem. So I have to work with them to on how to interpret when they say not what they mean, when they say accept what they mean. So it's also a challenge in teaching
Mhm.
the content as well as helping them to understand if the question asks you this is what they mean, how to decipher which is the correct answer from which is a distractor.
Mhm.
So it's a work in progress. It takes a lot, but that's something that we also have to work with.
Yes, thank you. It's a lot because I'm looking at it and thinking, hold on. Normally I'll be on holidays now, and you're telling me to do exams? This is a real pushback,
Yes.
you know. So which means the result comes out at the end of August or September,
Yes,
isn't
yes.
it?
They're looking into, I think, I'm not sure what the thing is from CX because they're the one releasing the results, but I think it's for late August, probably early September, first week in September. So
Okay.
even the admission to TAM CC would have its little flaws in terms of admission. So they may have to start with all results or something like that. But
Mhm.
it as it goes, these are things that will be worked out and I know. But even that too, because by August results are coming out, so people know what they're
Exactly.
doing. But
Yeah.
everything has been pushed back, which is just a challenge for everyone concerned.
Wow. It's interesting because here, it was mentioned that, if students want exams, they could have the exam, but in September. There was also mentioned that, school school should be open, let's say in July and go on until August. But who really want to A, teach in August, B, want to go back to school in August?
Yeah, because you already said that this is a time for your vacation. So
Exactly,
yeah, but
exactly,
the fact that
exactly.
teachers want
Oh,
the fact that teachers are making the extra sacrifice to have the extra classes for the students is it's welcoming. It's good because hats off to them because they too now have to do the extra just to make sure that these children are prepared and not having to eliminate one paper and just have the exam down to a multiple choice. It is in itself going to be a challenge because we know that multiple choice can be very tricky
yeah,
to
yeah,
answer. Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you. The planned questions we had was separating school from home. But then, because you
Yeah,
mentioned that you've gone back, I was just
yeah,
fascinating to know what the challenges are in
yeah.
terms of you going back. So, how many days you go back? How many days a week you go into this classroom?
I go 4 days a week. I go 4 days a week, and my classes are 55 minutes long. 55 minutes long. We try to give because on a regular classes are 40 minutes, and I would see the
Oh,
children 3 times for the week. But because we have to condense it, I see them twice for the week. 55 minutes are the session. So I go in and I see them for that time, and then I stick around. And if they need anything, any help whatsoever, I try to assist them how best I can.
right, right, right. It's really I find it's quite challenging on two
Mm,
fronts. The fact that you have to wear mask and
yeah.
then the students have to wear masks. So how are they coming? Because you see, I see that in itself as a barrier to communication. Because the wearing of the mask, you wearing the mask, the students wearing the mask, that's the barrier straight away. So do you find that there's a difference in communication with the students now, the fact that they have the mask on,
Yeah,
whereas
it's a challenge because sometimes you have to ask them repeat. I didn't quite get what you said, so you have them repeating, and then I think they have to now speak louder than normal so that I can understand. And then I know for me it's a challenge because I'm normally a soft-spoken person in the classroom. I don't like to raise my voice, so I have to now be able to speak a little bit louder and take my time now and say what I'm saying so that they can understand what I'm saying. So the constant, what did you say? Repeat that again, take it slower. It is a challenge having to keep this mask on and speak.
wow. I'm kind of dreading it if I have to be wearing masks when we go back in September to, the students actually communicating with you,
Yeah.
with mask on. I just visualizing the challenges,
When I get into my vehicle to go home, I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. So I can take off this mask now. It's like, okay, I need to get this off because because it's like if you feel as if you're suffocated with this mask on and having to speak. So I just can't wait when I get into my vehicle to take off my mask.
Wow. Yeah, but you're not teaching every lesson, are you?
No, I only teach in the Form 5, so only the Form 5s I interact with. So most of the times it's just a matter of revision. Sometimes it's a matter of revision. And because the CXC exam is timed, I try to make them do their practice in a time setting so that they get the
Okay.
feel to of this is the time I have to do the exam. So when the time is up, I need to stop. So I'm also giving them the revision, but yet the practice to work within time constraints.
Okay, okay. Yes, but it means that because you're not seeing them throughout the day and for
Mm.
every hour of the day, you could actually not wear your mask all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, so when I go down to my quarters, I take it off. I take it off. But if I'm leaving to go to any
Okay.
part of the school, I have to put it back on. But once I'm down in my quarters for myself, I take it off. If a child is coming to me, then I will say, okay, hold on. I put it on. I meet the child, but we keep our distance. So we have the markers, as I said, on the school compound. We stand where we have to stand, and we engage in our conversation. But it it is a challenge having to wear this mask and talk. And I think like something like they want privacy to talk to a child about something. How are you going to get that? Because we can't take the mask
Exactly.
off. You can't be close to me to talk to me. So
Exactly.
We have to try to make it work. Yeah.
That's a real challenge. I'm visualizing all of this, and I'm visualizing this challenge of having this mask and having to talk to my student with the mask on, and they're
Yeah.
saying to me, Miss, what are you saying? And then I'm repeating myself, and you're thinking, oh, what a challenge. You know, I
Yeah.
suppose we have no choice. We just have to roll with it.
Yes, we have to. We have to learn to adapt and just make the best of what we have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. Another, just to wrap up,
Okay.
what are some of the tips you are going to use to encourage the separation of school and home life? What tips have you got for educators who are now struggling or who now have challenges in getting the students and even getting themselves to
Mhm.
separate school and life? This is something as educator we have really trouble with,
Yes.
separating them.
Yes, definitely. Now, what I have done, and everybody's situation will be different, but you just have to be able to adapt it. So, what I have done is, as I said, I wake up normal time. I wake up my normal time I would do if I'm going to work. I get my son because he also has his online class with his teacher. And I have two stations set up. So he has his, that's his classroom. And I have mine, which I call my office. So when I sit there, I say to myself, okay, I am working. So one of the things I would advise is set up a room or some corner in your house which you're going to call your office, and you
Mhm,
stay there and you do your work. Because I'm not in
mhm,
the physical classroom as before, I have a schedule. So I have a schedule I make up, and I say, okay, between 8:30 and 9:30 I'm going to do this, and I have my alarm going off, so I know, okay,
mhm,
the time has ended for this. If it's something that I need to continue doing, then I'll allow myself to finish, because you
mhm.
have to be able to be flexible. So you have to be able also to set a schedule,
Yeah.
even if it means writing it down or having your alarm go off. You do it, because I have my alarm going off as well as I have it on a to-do list. And after I'm finished, I check it off. And then you need to know when it's
Mhm,
time to cut off. I go up to
mhm,
3 o'clock. I go up to 3 o'clock. I set myself to 3 o'clock. And I try while I'm at work, I say myself, okay, I'm at work. I may not be in the physical classroom or the
mhm,
physical plan, but I'm at work. So I try not to engage in my personal stuff
mhm,
during my working hours. So I
mhm,
try to
mhm,
avoid checking my emails unless I'm going into my work email. So I see a pop-up
mhm,
from work, I check it. But I try to ensure that while I'm on work, I do the things that I would do while I am on work. And when the time has come, I need to close off. I close off and decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do for me.
mhm,
Another thing that could be done that I have done is I have now included things of interest. So things that you
mhm.
wanted to do
Okay.
before that you haven't gotten a
Okay.
chance to do, then now is the time to do it. So one of the things that I have done is join
Yeah.
Toastmasters. I've always wanted to, but now that
Okay.
I can be online, then why not do this? There also
Mhm,
there's so you
mhm,
just need to set your schedule, set your boundaries, and find things that you can do that is going to help
mhm.
develop you. There's so much YouTube videos. There are a lot of people offering a lot of online training, free training.
Mhm,
Get yourself involved in
mhm,
something that you like. I've also
mhm,
made sure that I schedule time for my son. I'm tired of him saying, "Mommy, movie night." So I say, okay, every Friday at this
mhm,
time, I have a date, movie night with my
mhm,
son.
mhm.
So that's some of the things that we need to do. You may not
Yes.
get it right all the time, but
Mhm,
at least if you have a structure to work with, you
mhm,
have
mhm.
something to look back at. And if you fail at sometimes, don't beat yourself up. It's okay to not
Mhm.
stick to your pattern,
Yes.
but at least you have something in place that I'm going to do X, Y, Z.
Mhm.
And once you get it done, give yourself a tap on the back. Yes, I've accomplished two
Yeah.
out of the three tasks that I want to
Yeah.
do. That in
Yeah.
itself is encouraging. It's encouraging. But
Mhm.
just set yourself some schedule. Do things for you. Don't neglect yourself. Don't
Mhm.
neglect yourself as an educator. Do the things
Mhm.
that you need to do. So that is what I have adapted in my
Mhm.
life to help me separate work from home. Every day I learn, because
Mhm.
sometimes I can neglect myself because I want to finish up this. But at the time I say, you know what?
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay that I falter here, but I have the chance to become. I'm not going to beat myself up, but I need to be able to adjust. So that's just what I have
Yeah.
done. I hope it can help somebody out there, but that's what I practice.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you. I like the fact that the reminder that you have movie night with your son.
Yes.
you know, we do need to have, like the fun time as if we're actually going out for it.
Yes.
Because as you rightly say, too often everything just roll into one and you
Mm-hmm.
end up having home life, school life, all in one. I found myself doing that a few weeks ago, and I had to actually pull back and say, hold on, I'm mixing the both of them up. I am doing things for school at the same time doing things for home. That was all mixed up. So I had to actually stop myself and start separating.
Yes.
Because it is so easily done, because you're always working. And the fact that you didn't, you actually did the transition without realizing that, hold on, this is supposed to be my home time here. What am I doing here? Doing schoolwork here. So a constant reminder, and I like the idea of the clock, the time on that clock. I tried it once in terms of, doing things for 15, 20 minutes and getting up, but that kind of a fall by the wayside. But I'm going to try it again in terms of scheduling. Yes, this is home time, or this is work time, and when that is done, I move. That's fantastic. I do feel that that's something I need to.
So when I start, I say to my mother and my son, okay, I'm going to work now. And when I sit at this table, I am working. If lunch is at 12 o'clock, I stop, I take my lunch, and I go back to work. To work, but I say to them, okay, I am going to work now. And I say to my mother, this is my office. Please don't enter my office. so pretend I'm away. I'm in my office, and I do what I have. I do what I have to do. Even when my son has his school time, I say, okay, if school opens at 2:30, then that's the time I normally pick you up, 3 o'clock. So let's assume that we're still doing this. So after your class is over, then we can do how was school today? What did you do? Any homework? So I try as much as possible to keep the normal in the new normal.
Yes. I think that's a fantastic idea, to make sure that, clear boundaries. It's important that we maintain clear boundaries, because too often that, we forget about clear boundaries, and we just allow, we just go. And I think it's so important, not only for our students, also for ourselves as well.
Ourselves,
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
Well, I just want to encourage all educators out there to just be mindful that as much as we want to help our children, we also have to take care of us. And at the end of the day, once we are there for our students, that's the most important thing, that we are there for them, but we also take care of ourselves. And remember, schedule and boundaries. And don't beat yourself up if you didn't get it quite right. It's a matter of trial, because we didn't expect COVID-19 and have a plan for it. It happened. And so we have to be able to adapt and adjust our sails.
Yeah, that's fantastic, actually. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Basically, what I have to say in terms of, we need to take care of ourselves as educators, because if you do not take care of yourself, you cannot be present for your students. Exactly. What you're going to find is the frustration of incomplete work. So that frustration is then projected onto the student, and it's just, Miss, what's the matter with you? And then you still haven't clocked on what's the matter with you now. Yeah. But when you actually reflect, you realize, oh yes, I didn't take time off, I didn't have time to go to the toilet, I didn't have a drink. So all that just pile onto you. Yeah. And unfortunately, we still have some educators at home sitting at the computer and forgetting that they have to go to the toilet, they have to go and get a drink. They're sitting there with the students, or sitting online preparing work, and forget that, hold on, you need to schedule time for you.
Yes, you have to.
So that's something we have to remember. Schedule time for you. Yes. You are very important, or even more important, because if you are not filled up, you cannot pour from an empty vessel.
Exactly.
So that's so important. Okay, thank you everybody for tuning in to another episode of the challenges and triumph of online teaching at the Female Educator Roundtable. Please comment, share, and like if you've got some value from this. And I know you have, because I have. And in terms of educators, we will always get value. So can you please comment, like, and share? I am still looking for more female educators. I have 2 criteria for coming onto the program. 1, you must be a female educator. 2, you must have either taught or still currently teaching online platform, because what I am looking at is the challenges and triumph of online teaching. I also feel that when I created this platform, I also feel that we as female educators have to share and tell our story. Yes, male educators, I do hear you. I do acknowledge you. However, our challenges are very much different from yours. So I just feel that we need to share our journey and we need to share our own story, because everybody share a story for us. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a fantastic evening wherever you are. Enjoy the evening, and don't forget to tune in again tomorrow, and don't forget to like it, share it, and comments, please. And I would be responding to your comments. Or my educator who is on the platform, when she sees it, she will also be responding to the comments. Thank you.